It's been 6 hours that Jesus has been hanging on the cross now. Think about what you've been able to do in the last 6 hours. Maybe you've gotten some work done, probably had lunch, you maybe even had time to take a nap. And all of that time, Jesus has been hanging by nails through his hands and through his feet, as he is not only enduring the physical suffering of crucifixion, but during those 6 hours, Jesus has been facing the full wrath of God on our behalf. And he has done it silently. I mean, yes, of course, we have the 7 sayings of Jesus from the cross. As you look at the text, a couple of those happen pretty much immediately after he is hung on the cross. And then there's this long period of silence. And then, right at the end, he speaks again. And so, predominantly, most of the time, most of that 6 hours where Jesus was hanging on the cross, facing the full wrath of God, this is how he did it. Like a sheep being led to the slaughter, or a lamb that is silent before her shearers. He did not open his mouth. Isaiah 53:7. So at the beginning of the time of the cross, Jesus, he spoke to the repentant criminal. He spoke briefly to Mary and John. 1 sentence each. That's it. Mostly remaining silent. And then at noon, darkness falls over the land. Why? Well, because the light of the world is leaving the world soon. And it was in this dark and silent time that our salvation was accomplished. It was in this dark and quiet that Jesus took hell for us. And then as he comes to the end of that time, he begins to speak again. John 19:28-30. After this, Jesus, knowing that all was now finished, said, to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar full of sour wine stood there, so they put a sponge full of the sour wine on a hyssop branch and held it to his mouth. When Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. You'll notice, if you are familiar with these passages, that this is actually the second time that Jesus was offered wine. And the first time he was offered wine mixed with myrrh, which was actually a mild narcotic that was intended to lessen or dull his pain. But that wine he refused. But now here at the end, he accepts this sour wine. Don't think of that as like a dirty trick that they're playing on him. This is just a common kind of wine that was used for refreshment. So why is it that he is willing to receive this wine here at the end? Is it because the pain and the torture had finally gotten to him? Well, no, that's not why. All throughout the Passion narrative, we can see incredible prophecy fulfillment, especially from Psalm 22. I mean, if you want to just pause this video and read Psalm 22, God will bless you for it. But all throughout these Passion narratives, he has been one by one fulfilling these prophecies about the Messiah as the suffering servant, the one who would suffer on behalf of God's people. And Psalm 22, verse 15 says this, My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. So what is happening to Jesus at the end of this 6 hours is that he has something to say, but his mouth is so dry that he can't really get it out. And so he is willing now to take this wine, not as a source of physical comfort to himself, but so that he has the opportunity now to break the silence. It was in the silence that he was accomplishing our salvation. And now he wants to break the silence in order to tell us what it is that he has accomplished. And so, as we think about those hours and hours of silence and darkness, what we should see in that is this. In his silence, we see our salvation. In his silence, we see our salvation. And that couldn't be made any more clear than by the fact that he breaks the silence in order to cry out this: "It is finished." So that word in the Greek, it means the accomplishing of a task, or it could mean the finishing of a race. It means to finish. And this is what Jesus wants to cry out with his last breath. This is what he wants to announce to the world before he leaves the world. I mean, again, think about this. He doesn't break the silence in order to prove his innocence. He doesn't break the silence in order to save himself by calling down that army of angels. No. He breaks the silence in order to tell us that he has accomplished God's will and he has accomplished our salvation. He didn't say, "I am finished," which would be a cry of despair. He didn't say, "They are finished," which would be a cry of revenge. He said, "It is finished," which is a cry of victory. Over and over and over throughout the Gospels, as Jesus said, "The hour is coming, the hour is coming, the hour is coming." What he was talking about was the hour when he would fulfill the will of God, when he would accomplish our salvation by silently facing the wrath of God on the cross. And now the hour has come. And now the hour is finished. And now he has accomplished God's will. And he has made the way for us to be rescued. Rather than rescuing himself, he willingly took our punishment. And so as we think about those dark and quiet hours where he hung in agony, what we see in that silence is our salvation. Father, you are too good to us. We don't deserve your Son. We deserve the cross. Father, thank you. Thank you that it is finished.
The cross is my beginning, the vine drawn in the sand, the end of all my striving. Now I am born again. That Jesus was forsaken, so I will never be. His grace is my salvation, the gift of God, the work of Calvary. It is done, it is finished. Christ has won, he is risen, grace is here. Love has triumphed over death forever. The cross needs no addition, mercy is complete. His love is not in question. The Son of God has spoken over me. It is done. It is finished. Christ has won. He is risen. Grace is here. Love has triumphed over death forever. Strongholds bowing to the Savior, resurrection power over every circumstance. His word stands final and forever. It will not be shaken. He alone has won it all. All strongholds bowing to the Savior, resurrection power. Final and forever, it will not be shaken. He alone has won it all. It is done. It is finished. Christ has won. He is risen. Grace is here. Love is triumphed over death forever. It is done. It is finished. Mercy won. I'm forgiven. Sing His name. He is worthy.